and this is a bridge. And despite our vast differences, we are very much in love. And our love in itself is no different from any other love that exists between two beings. One of the most difficult parts of being in love with a public object is that he and I can never be truly intimate. Whereas objects I've loved in the past, that's never been an issue. I feel very, very blessed to have a piece of my sweet Golden Gate Bridge. And I just hope that when I make love with this piece of him, that he can sense and feel how much I really, really love him. Because I am in love with the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And the Golden Gate Bridge is very much in love with me.
Erica Latour-Eiffel, known to her friends as Naisho, is one of just 40 people in the world who call themselves Objektum sexuals, people who have loving relationships with objects. Naisho has many lovers. Her most famous ones these days are the Berlin Wall and the Eiffel Tower. Her love for objects is behind her considerable athletic success. She's a world-class archer thanks to her long-term relationship with a bow.
Which is not wanting to come out here. This bow is Tenchan, and was indeed the first bow I ever fell in love with. He belonged to a guy that I was attempting to have a relationship with. And the sad part is he broke up with me because I loved his bow more than I loved his bow more than him, and he was rather offended.
When you say you date these guys, does it mean you do have sex with them?
Oh, no. No, we never get to that point. Oftentimes they always said, I'll be the guy that'll make her change her mind. And I never liked that attitude, so. I mean, I didn't date a whole lot of guys, but the ones that I did didn't work out simply because of the sex part.
Archers, may I have your attention, please?
The bow, called Lance, propelled her to become a world champion gold medalist and a record breaker. But she's been out of love with him for a couple of years now. This national championship is the first one since their relationship cooled. The competition brings back good memories.
Lance knows he's good looking. And initially, I was attracted to him because of his looks. We've had a pretty hot and heavy relationship for quite some time. But when we got together out there on the archery field, I realized it was more than just his aesthetic appeal to me. Everyone knew that I was an archer and knew that I loved my bow, but they didn't realize I loved my bow. You know, Lance and I, we were such a great team because we had that connection on every single level. I mean, I'd almost swear that my blood just flowed from my arm and went right into him. I just, you know, felt like the molecules in him were flowing back into my arm. I used to feel so connected with him.
Is it mechanically, is it similar to a woman having sex with a man?
I would say yes. I would say that the, you know, I mean, orgasm, all that is involved, foreplay, afterplay, all of that. And I think the emotional aspect of it is probably similar. I would imagine, or I would hope so, because I'd say the sex is really great for me, so if everyone else is having that kind of sex, I think that's wonderful. The world should have more of that. Okay, 276.
Have all the shots been clean, or any of them been line breakers?
Anthony is her coach and a friend who's known her for years.
At first I thought it was a little strange because she would always be with her bow. And then one time I recall she told me that she slept with Lance. And my first reaction was that this is a little weird. But having known her for a couple of years and having as much respect for her, both as an athlete and as a person, I said, well, maybe, you know, I should listen a little more closely to what this is all about.
But things are different now. Working with an ex is never easy. Nisha no longer feels at one with her bow.
8.
8.
That last one was?
You pulled it. The last one, you pulled it.
I couldn't keep the sight on.
Really? Well.
Nisha has come third in her category, a defeat for the former world champion. She doesn't even want to collect her trophy.
You know, I have very little pride right now when it comes to my archery, and I know I'm a good shooter.
All right, well, that's why you should go up and get your reward.
Please don't ask me to do this, and please don't be disappointed that I don't do it, but I am on the verge of having an absolute just meltdown, and I don't think I can put myself in that position.
This is your third place trophy.
Thank you. I appreciate you collecting it for me.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Anthony.
Great. You did great.
Thank you. I know I've disappointed a lot of people. I know I've disappointed myself, but I'm trying to keep alive something that I'm not in love with anymore. And now I've put myself in an extremely complex situation because my heart decided it wanted to fall in love with something that's almost completely out of my reach.
A year ago, at a private ceremony, she married the Eiffel Tower, pleading eternal love to the iconic structure. Since then, she's been losing interest in her archery career. Who are the Objektum sexuals? Why are their passions so intense? And why do they prefer the coldness of concrete to the warmth of a human body? Objektum sexuals, the OS people, fall in love with objects, not human beings. They also give them names, depending on their gender.
Why are some of the objects a he and some are a she?
Well, gender doesn't actually, you know, the object, obviously you can't lift up a leg on the Eiffel Tower and see whether she's male or female, but I think really what it boils down to is we can't call the object an it, because in the language that we speak, referring to something as an it instantly means it's inanimate. I just kind of get a sense of whether the object is male or female. It's Eiffel Tower, she's the Grand Madame of Paris. I mean, I didn't determine her gender, she did, obviously. I mean, I just want to be with her. Were you guys like catch me having sex with the Eiffel Tower? It'd be great.
Sweden was the birthplace of Objektum sexuality. Eorita coined the term when she married the Berlin Wall in the 70s. She changed her name to Frau Berliner Mauer, Mrs. Wall.
Did you have a chance to have a sexual encounter with the wall at that time?
Make love, yeah, yes.
You made love?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, and that's private.
And that was good?
Yes.
Was it a good experience?
Yes, it was good. It was good with that one too.
Yeah?
Yes.
Eorita used to be in a loving relationship with a guillotine.
And the headache is over. Got off.
These days, she lives on her own with 9 cats in a large house in northern Sweden. She doesn't travel anymore, but instead has created a model museum dedicated to her lovers on the ground floor. Eorita's father, who was a model maker, taught her how to build them.
Have you had any relationships with people at all in your life?
No.
Men or women?
No, no, no.
No, no, no?
No, no.
From her house in Sweden, Aerita has had an enormous influence on other Objektum sexuals around the world, all of whom are women. Before the internet came along, they were all alone. Now they can share their lives with each other. Aerita passed on her model-making skills to Naisho, who now has a collection of her own. Many of the models are of the Berlin Wall, a very special lover.
I can't exactly go and curl up and sleep with the Eiffel Tower every night, nor the Golden Gate Bridge or the Berlin Wall. So I have to suffice with handcrafting models. This particular wall in Berlin, I have a very, very deep relationship with, and so he's pretty special.
Naisho loves the models and is intimate with them too. She usually carries at least one of them at all times.
You make me feel so alive, 1001 Nacht. I can touch the sky as your counterweights descend and your gondola rises. My days are brighter when I gaze upon your handsome face.
Amy Wolf, like Naisho, is also a member of Aerita's internet group.
I'm glad that I'm alive, so I can fly with you.
Amy's main lover is a humble fairground ride called 1001 Nacht. Amy is also in love with this little banister called Lou in her bedroom.
Do you sort of think about him then as you're holding him like this?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What type of thought is in your mind?
Comfort. Peace. Warmth. A feeling of being loved. Happiness. Hello, Naisho.
Naisho has flown in to meet her.
Hey, how's my girl doing?
It's good to see you.
It's good to be seen. Tie-dye as usual.
Yes, that's my trademark.
Very cool. Hey, 1001 Nacht, how you doing?
He says he's doing great. He's looking forward to seeing me tomorrow.
Oh, my boys are kind of still mad at me because they're wrapped in plastic over
Oh.
The two love to visit New York, an OS paradise full of seductive structures.
You can feel the energy in the city, and it's not all from the people.
No.
I mean, it's more, actually, I think it's more from the buildings than people. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, look at that building right there.
I like that. It's
See,
all glass.
I like the ones with glass. Oh.
Yeah, I like glass. I like glass. I like steel. I like aluminum. I really like aluminum.
I mean, I don't know how an OS person could survive in this city and stay sane with all the magnificent objects here.
The Empire State Building is one of Amy's regular lovers.
I think Amy has a few words for you, so I'm gonna let you two alone, all right?
Okay.
All right.
Public displays of affection are often a problem.
I think we're being watched. Yes, I'm fine. Okay, sir, I'm sorry.
How was it?
It's beautiful. The security guard gave me hell, though.
Did he really?
Yeah. You know, every time I see the city and, you know, look at the World Financial Center that's in front of where the Twin Towers used to be, I'll just never get used to it. You know, used to him being gone.
To Amy, the Twin Towers is a single entity, a he, and she still loves him, even though he's now gone.
I'll always care for you.
Somehow in Amy's mind, her love for the Twin Towers has made her parents' divorce and disasters that followed more bearable.
After my dad left, after my mom suffered cancer, after we lost our home and everything in it, after we both lost our jobs, twice in our 6-year relationship together, I came close to taking my life. But my love for him and for his spirit gave me the strength and the courage to stay alive, to not take my life. I will always have a place in my heart for you.
Why would a person choose to seek solace in their relationships with objects rather than people? Amy lives with her mum in Allentown, not far away from New York.
Our family was always dysfunctional. I was always under constant stress. I worked 2 jobs because my husband was out of work more than he was in work.
My dad was always very distant and very disconnected from the rest of the members of his family. If you look closely at the picture, you can almost see in his eyes that he is distant. I am holding a small red container in my hands. I've always, all my life, had some kind of object close by that I've loved and found comfort in.
This is not all my collection. This is just, I'd say, 3/4 of my collection. I have about 50 different sets of dolls. As far as I'm concerned, they're better than having a man in my bedroom. And that's what I do for my fun.
Amy was identified at age 3 as developmentally delayed. In 1st grade, she was classified as an emotionally disturbed student and placed in a full-time SED classroom. Amy was hospitalized in the psychiatric ward at St. Luke's at age 19. She is a loner who, since a child, has fixated on objects, organs, fans, globes, washing machines, spaceships, and she is currently fixated with the Twin Towers. Conclusion: Amy appears to meet the criteria for a diagnosis of Asperger's disorder.
Asperger's is a condition on the autistic spectrum which makes it difficult for a person to make connections with other people. Only a very small proportion of Asperger sufferers, though, are objectum sexuals.
She believes that she was born this way, and I'm convinced it's everything that's happened along the way that has brought it to the point that she knows these objects won't hurt her, they won't talk back to her, they won't threaten her. She feels safe with the objects. I think she'll never know what it's like to be loved by another human being, to be physically in contact with another human being. My heart breaks that she'll never know this. And it's kind of difficult for me to accept this, but what choice do I have? She's my daughter, and I love her.
For every lover I've ever had, I will always have a place in my heart for all of them. I think I can speak for many people in the respects that we would like to find a lover and be able to stick with that lover and just settle down and grow old together. I long for that very much, but I guess I suffer what they call the 7-year itch, because that's when it seems to happen, when the relationships fizzle out. I love this part that's coming up. It's not unlike one of Bach's chorale preludes, and I think because they're German, they adapted this right here. Of emotions. Yep. That's what love does to you.
Yeah, well, it's this magic dream that's, you know, it's great.
Amy and her clicked. But she just smiled from ear to ear and says, Mom, there's other people like me out there. And she just was filled with joy.
You can see him a little bit there, just the top of him.
The front. My heart's just going boom, boom, boom.
Wow, he is really tall.
Yes, he is. Oh my God. After 5 months, it's good to see you. He's just so noble, so proud, so strong. I not only love him for a sexual attraction, I mean, we're not talking about fetish here. I love him as a mate. I love the roundness of his counterweights at the top. I love him for the narrowness of his jibs. I love him for the elegant lines of his gondola, which is now covered up for the winter. I like the ribbing up underneath his name display there, too. The parallel lines that are coming down. You see where I'm talking about?
Oh, yes, I see it, yeah.
I love that. I'm thinking, oh, geez, you know what I'm thinking about. This is very personal. When I make love to him at home, when I start climaxing, I just keep saying over and over again, just as I'm starting to go over the edge, I just tell him, I want your fluids, I want your fluids, I want your fluids.
I did not expect to find a fence like this here at all. He's perfect. I mean, this is the shape that I like so much. These angles, fabulous.
You smell good. God, you smell so good.
Fences are such dangerous objects for me because they are so perfect in their geometry. I mean, I have to say there is a lot of physical stuff going on right now. I mean, and I think that happens between human relationships as well, but I'm definitely physically attracted to this fence. And I would like to get to know this fence better.
Wow, you are sweet. You're very, very sweet.
An OS person talks to their beloved object, and the object communicates back by telepathy.
How many times over when we've made love at home have I asked you for... Look at me. Look at me and say it. I don't want to go. I'd rather stay here with you. It's never really goodbye to anyone. Because 1001 knocked, as I have told you many times before, and I will many times repeat it, I love you.
Amy Amy loves objects, not people, in a romantic way. One of her more exotic lovers is a church banister, whom she calls Strader.
There was a newlywed show on the other night, and they asked the question, what's the oddest place you've ever had sex in? And I laughed because I don't think any of them could have had sex in a more odd place than I did, in the church.
So what happened?
I'll put it this way. No different than what happens between a man and a woman. All the foreplay and the ultimate act that we all go through. And the after effects, the what some people refer to as post-coital bliss. I'm trembling because, well, obviously because of how much I love him, but this, you know, just finally having a voice through you producing this, you know, working on producing this documentary. I've never had a voice to the human race before, never been able to have people listen, really listen to how I feel and what I have to say.
Most of the time, an objectum sexual is alone with their beloved object, or just the image of it.
And people can love objects, but they love them to a certain degree, more or less for practical purposes. But that's why they don't see the soul of the object. Whereas when you truly, truly are interested in an object, and you're willing to bare your soul, then you see theirs. He's an amazing lover. He really is.
Programmet sponsras av en nyhet för alla som älskar smör. Valj och smör i praktisk bytta.
My mother and father divorced when I was 1, and it wasn't one of those good divorces. It was one of those ones where my mother absolutely detested my father for the abuse that he put her through. Living conditions were not suitable for me as a child, and the Department of Human Services had me removed for my own safety. And
what was the worst thing about your own childhood up to that point?
I'd have to say that it was being molested over the course of 2 years by my half-brother. And
was it?
It was bad. Yeah, it was really bad. No person should have to go through that. It's a scar I'm going to have with me for the rest of my life. There is no healing it. And they say time can heal. I'm not entirely sure I believe that, though.
Naisho isn't an Asperger's sufferer. Throughout her childhood, she was moved from foster home to foster home, experiencing further abuse. As a teenager, she got into the US military and was training to be a pilot, but suffered another sexual attack. She managed to defend herself as she was sleeping with a Japanese sword, her lover at the time. She was then asked to give up the sword, but refused.
Given her full history, it is possible that she will never be able to part with her sword and will need to maintain a boundary between herself and others. She exhibits some personality traits which are common in survivors of childhood abuse, such as fear of abandonment.
Naisho was dismissed from the army some 10 years ago on psychological grounds. She has a chronic post-traumatic stress disorder.
If I am the way I am today because of everything that happened to me, then I'm all right with it. Because I wouldn't change who I am now.
But things are changing. Naisho used to love weapons of aggression. Not anymore. Her new lovers mostly give joy to people, apart from one, the Berlin Wall. Naisho herself doesn't quite understand that passion. And so she travels to Europe to find her answers and to visit her grand lovers. Her first stop is Sweden to catch up with her old friend and mentor, Rita. A little human warmth, after all, can be of help too.
Hello. Good to see you. What?
Naisho is very much in love with the Berlin Wall, Rita's husband of 30 years. Objektum sexuals believe in polygamy.
So you both love the Berlin Wall, right?
Yeah.
And you're sitting at this one table. How does it work?
It just does. Why wouldn't it work?
But then you did say earlier today that there have been some difficulties.
Yeah, it was in the beginning when we
just didn't understand each other as
Yes.
well. Yeah. Well, now we understand and it's no problems.
Yes.
The women share a mutual understanding and yet another lover, a provincial bridge near Leiden.
I am not a woman. You are just a bridge, and to the world you serve your course, and they expect me to.
And so Naisho goes to Berlin to see her most controversial and complicated lover, the Berlin Wall.
And how long have you waited to be touched like this? Imagine quite some time.
Thousands died trying to cross it to escape to freedom. In 1989, a rejoicing crowd pulled the wall down, marking the end of communism. Only a few remnants are left. The Checkpoint Charlie Museum is devoted to the memory of those who died crossing the Berlin Wall. Naisho wants to learn more about the history of her beloved, but it's painful.
Could you explain why it was important to destroy the Berlin Wall in 1989?
It was very, very important to destroy Berlin Wall. You know, the wall was not just a wall. The wall was the strongest part of the division of the world. And to put this wall away was very important, to put the world again together.
And I understand a lot of what you're saying from my own experience, and I was in a free country, and this still happened to me. So sometimes it doesn't matter if you're behind a wall or in the most free country.
No, you cannot say that this is the same. You could move as you want.
Actually, I couldn't. I was a property of the government, and they moved me when they wanted to move me. I lived with 6 different families growing up.
But you cannot say this is the same with the people, for example, of my country, or the people.
I'm not saying it's the same. I'm saying that I understand the feelings of not being free.
But nevertheless, I think this is the wrong way to put these two things on the one table. This is very different.
I don't know. I mean, I can sympathize with the children being taken from their families.
You cannot imagine. I was grown up in the Ukraine. You cannot imagine how it is in former communist countries.
I'm not talking about the political part of it. I'm talking about being taken away and abused, violated, physically abused. Those things I can relate to because I've experienced that. I'm not saying that I had it worse than the people in the communist country. By all means, I'm not saying.
They did separate the family. They did put the mother in the prison, and the children separated in a special house.
At least those parents still love their children. My parents didn't love me at all.
I tried to hate you. I tried to hate you. And what I don't get is that they say you brought all this pain and suffering to people, so why is it such a big problem that you bring happiness and joy to me? I mean, isn't that what they want? Is people to have happiness and joy? I curse myself for being human. I wish I were an object just like you. I wish I were part of you.
You said to me some time ago that in some strange way you felt there were similarities between you and the Berlin Wall.
I feel that the Berlin Wall was built, made, and then later rejected by the people that made him. And I have to say, I feel that way about my own life. I feel that I was brought into this world and then they later regretted, and I was rejected like he was. I just don't understand how some people can bring someone into the world like a child, an object, and then not love them. I struggle with that in my own life. How could someone bring me into this world and not love me?
Even now?
Even now. I have had so many opportunities in my life to give up and go down the wrong road and let the wounds fester inside of my heart. But this ragged old wall has taught me a few things, and that one most important thing is to stand up. And who cares what people think about you? Stand up and be yourself. And I am standing up and being me. I am the Berlin Wall. You hate me, try to break me apart, try to tear me down, but I will still be here standing.
Amy's love for objects has had its problems. She's been ridiculed and rejected. Once upon a time, she had a happy love affair with a church organ called Paul. When the previous pastor found out about the affair, he asked her to leave, and that broke her heart. Now there is a new pastor, Pastor Mark. He's only just found out about her sexual encounter with the church banister. Amy is terrified that he too will exclude her from his congregation. The moment of reckoning is coming.
How you doing, Amy? How are you?
Okay.
Doing all right? Doing all right?
I'm just scared.
Why?
Because of how Pastor Coons was to me in the past. I wasn't sure how you'd react.
I felt very hurt. You know you're welcome here. You're welcome here.
Thank you.
You're welcome here.
I I've never been able to tell this story to anybody. But when I played the organ here years ago, Paul, as I call him, his name is Paul to me. Although he's not what he was since they got the new digital organ, I loved him like a boyfriend. And when Pastor Coons took him from me, it broke my heart.
But this is still God's house. And Christ opens the door and welcomes us in. And he welcomes you now. He welcomed you when you were baptized, and he welcomes you every time you come to this table, at this rail. Shall we pray? Dear loving God, we thank you for your great love for us, reaching out and welcoming us, broken people, facing so many hurts in our broken world. We pray, O Lord, that you will open the hearts of people who shut doors.
How big it
This is scale 1 to 20.
Despite their differences, the curator of the Checkpoint Charlie Museum in Berlin has commissioned Naisho to build 6 new models of the remnants of the Berlin Wall.
I want to have all your models for the museum.
The contract is worth 10,000 euros. Who knows? Maybe it does mark a new beginning in Naisho's personal development. To celebrate, Naisho goes to Paris for the first anniversary of her wedding to the Eiffel Tower. This time, she's determined to consummate their marriage at last.
This is where I was married. I'm shaking.
It's a challenge to be truly intimate with a public structure. But where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, boy. Well, every time I come here, I always feel that there's some distance, some barrier between her and I, but now that barrier is gone. I mean, I'm one with her. I'm connected to her. I mean, there's nothing between us right now. I never imagined this day would ever happen. But the heat of my body is flowing into her cold steel. The cold of her steel is flowing into my body. And we are reaching equilibrium where we both are the same temperature.
Is it not unpleasant that she's so cold?
It's actually quite pleasant that she's cold because I can feel the exchange of temperature between us, which is an exchange of energy. And that energy it's very spiritual.
And do you feel that she loves you back?
Oh gosh, yes. She definitely loves me back. I can feel that. I can feel her right now. And I don't care if people don't believe that I can communicate with her. It doesn't matter to me. Really, the only parties involved are her and myself in this relationship. So people call me cuckoo, I don't care. What we have is real. And if it's only real to me and it's only real to her, it's fine.